Welcome to episode 21 of the Mile 20 podcast, where epic shit happens. I'm Lorri, and I'm here not with Laura, my bestie today, but instead with my daughter, Maggie.
Hey.
Hey, unfortunately, Laura is a little under the weather today and is unable to make it. And we were going to miss her desperately, and I can't wait to hear her epic week update because she spent the weekend at Universal Studios having a really good time, so that should be good. So today, our episode is revolving kind of more locally around the Philadelphia area. We are on location at Bluebird Distilling in Phoenixville, which is now Maggie's new home because she has moved out and is now a local.
Yes, and our first time on location.
Yes.
Which is fun.
First time on location.
Drinks that are delicious and made by a bartender.
Yes. And not by Maddie.
No, or you.
Or me. I mean, we've been on location at the
villa.
At the villa before, yeah.
That's true.
But, you know, this is our first time out in public, which feels hitting a little different today, but it's fun. So we're flushing the format today, just to say that up front, it's not going to be normal. We are focusing on the BlobFest. We'll be interviewing Mike Ragozzino, who is the race director for the BlobFest and kind of a local running icon, I think, in the Phoenixville area. So it'll be fun to hang out with Mike over cocktails here at Bluebird Distilling for the day.
Oh, yes.
So, Maggie, what is your Mile 20 cocktail today?
Today, my beverage of the week, it's called Saturn Return. It has vanilla vodka, bitter Italian soda, pineapple, strawberry, and fresh lime, and it is garnished with an orange in a swirl. And it is delicious. Very strong taste of pineapple, but that's my jam.
Yeah. This is not our first time at Bluebird Distilling. As a matter of fact, I believe we were here for First Friday, this past Friday night.
Yeah, we were here 3 days ago.
Yeah. And we picked up at that time. I had come here because we had, a couple episodes ago, we had talked about the fact that we had had cocktails at Rivertown Taps, and I had had a duck fat washed bourbon old fashioned, which was amazing. And they got the idea from Bluebird Distilling, where we are today, because they do a bacon fat washed bourbon old fashioned. However, that is currently off their menu. So we are calling this concoction, I'm calling it the Elvis old fashioned right now.
Did you just come up with that yourself?
Sort of. So they found They thought they were out of the bacon washed bourbon, and they just happened to find some right before we got here today, which was amazing. So I have the bacon fat washed. They used a banana demerara liqueur as opposed to, I think, the bitters. I got a caramelized, lovely little slice of banana. So it's kind of got that bacon, banana, peanut butter thing play. So he made it for me, and it's beautiful.
Amazing.
So, Maggie.
Should we do a cheers?
Oh, yeah, let's definitely do a cheers. Here's cheers to Laura. Hope she feels better.
Hope she feels better, and cheers to Phoenixville.
Cheers to Phoenixville. You're having a blast here, aren't you?
I am. I just moved probably almost 3 weeks ago, I think. But there's literally things to do every single weekend here, and it's so much fun. And that's what got us onto the BlobFest. We might reiterate this with Mike, but that's how I found the BlobFest, is I was looking for all the things to do. For example, they have a festival every first Friday. There was a vintage thing a couple weeks ago. There was a Pride festival this past Saturday where they had tons of vendors. It looked huge, but there's so many little microbreweries. This is a distillery. Bars, all in 4 or 5 blocks.
Yeah. It's a really, really cute town. It's growing. I feel like it's come so far even in the last 10 years that we've been living in the area, and it's just a really cool destination to come to. So let's do an Epic Week update. What have you been up to on your Epic Week update?
More of the
Margaret?
same as you.
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty much parallel. So we could just talk about it together.
We could just dive through what we've been doing. I guess since last Monday, just working a lot. And on Thursday, Ella graduated high school.
Whoop, whoop. My
So-
last is out of high school.
That was exciting.
Very exciting.
We went to her favorite taco place after.
Yes.
And we were there 30 minutes before close.
Yeah, I don't think they were
With,
very
like,
happy.
12 of us.
Yeah, I don't think they were happy to see us come in either.
But that was fun. And then what did we do Friday?
Friday
You had a lot of activities on Friday.
We did. We went to a brewery, another local brewery, small one, Hares Hill Brewery, and had lunch. Great food. We had a burger. It was delicious, and the beer was very, very good there. And then I think we wound up coming out here and hanging out with you for First Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool because Phoenixville shuts down their main street, Bridge Street, for Friday night, Saturday, and Sundays all summer long. So that has started. And with that, all the dining kind of comes outside onto the sidewalk.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. You just like she said, you can walk the whole street and just... They do a lot of pop-up tents, too. I know some of the stores come out onto the street to get a little more traffic, but it's a lot of fun. Like Bluebird Distilling, just on Friday, they do a little truck with a bar out in the front, and then you can open carry in the street.
Yes.
So that was the first place that we stopped on Friday.
Yeah.
We walked down from my apartment, excuse me, and we got our drinks at Bluebird Distilling, and then we made our way back down the street, and we had dinner at Great American Pub.
It was delicious.
Which was delicious.
Always good
And
there.
My dog Tiger sat at the table with us. He was such a good boy, and Mom was feeding him off the table.
Well, he was hungry. You were feeding my dogs off the table when you were there, so I was just giving you a little bit
really
tit
cute.
for tat, okay?
I suppose. And then Saturday morning, starting at noon, we started shopping. Nana was here.
Nana's
Mom's
a big shopper.
big shopper. So we went to the King of Prussia Mall.
Yep.
We did some clothes shopping. We did some
Houseware shopping for you.
We got Cheesecake Factory
Yes.
as a little dinner, little picnic.
Linner. It was kind of between lunch and dinner.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah. It was a good week.
it's a good week.
It was a good week. Well, I guess we'll cut back and come back when we can introduce Mike. We're waiting for him to arrive, and we'll be back. Well, we'd like to welcome Michael Ragozzino from the Phoenixville area with us, race director for the BlobFest. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. I'm so glad you're here with us today. So would you like to tell us what you're drinking today?
Oh goodness, it's called the Loaded Dice,
Yes.
otherwise known as the Elvis.
Yes. It's really the Loaded Dice. I had no idea what I was talking about earlier.
It has hints of banana and bacon fat bourbon, and I'm not quite sure what else is in it, but I will say that it's filled with deliciousness.
It is deliciousness. We're going to say cheers to you to the beginning of this podcast.
Welcome
Thank
to
you for
Mile
joining
20.
us. Yes.
Thank you.
We are live from Bluebird Distilling in Phoenixville. So grateful to them to have us here.
Yes. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, are you from Phoenixville? Like, born and raised?
I was not born and raised in Phoenixville. I was not born and raised in Pennsylvania, actually.
No?
I'm from Connecticut originally. Grew up there until college. Went to Harvard undergrad.
Nice.
And yeah, it's something that honestly I had not been telling very many people until recently, and suddenly I'm a little bit more proud of it.
You should be super proud of
Well,
Harvard.
thank
That's
you.
a big deal. That's a
Thank
very
you.
big deal.
And like I said, little bit more proud of it recently.
Yeah. Oh, I love their,
Yeah.
I love their classes, their free classes. I was thinking about taking one
Oh,
myself.
no doubt. But then after that, I moved to New Haven, back in Connecticut, and lived there until I turned 30, and then traveled to North Carolina for a while, and then ended up here in Pennsylvania.
Where were you in North Carolina?
I was just outside of Charlotte,
What part?
right near Davidson, North Carolina.
Okay, because we actually lived in Mooresville for 2 years.
Oh, get out of
But
here.
like a long, like eons ago.
That's where I was born.
No, you were born in Raleigh, honey.
But that's how many eons ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she was little. She was preschool. Let's put it that way.
My son was born in Huntersville.
Okay. Yes.
Yep. And I tutored students at Lake Norman High School, so I know that area very well.
Yep. So are you currently a teacher? Teaching?
I am not currently a teacher. Actually, that has just changed in the last year. So I taught at Ursinus College here in Collegeville for about 10 years. I taught their freshman seminar called The Common Intellectual Experience, and absolutely loved it. And at the same time, I was developing a race direction company.
Yeah.
And the race direction company, Pennsylvania Running Company, really just took off. And then in the last, I would say, 2 years, allowed me to make the hard decision to say goodbye to teaching.
Really? So you're doing that full time now?
I am now doing it full time.
Well,
yes.
That's got to be hard because they're probably both passion projects, right? Like you have to have a passion for both things in order to,
Absolutely.
do that as a career.
Absolutely. I started having a little bit of trouble in the classroom, particularly around the time when ChatGPT came out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it changed the dynamic between professor and student.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I was going to really work on navigating that, it would take a lot of dedicated focus.
Yeah.
And I was working so hard on the other part of things, on the race direction part of things, and that had really just kind of taken over my life.
Yeah.
That I decided it was time to walk away from teaching and really just focus full time on the race direction.
Wow. So, like, what all are the races that you direct, or what races do you guys put on?
So we put on about 15 to 18 per year.
That's a full schedule.
It is certainly a full schedule. Our main events are the Jim Thorpe Area Running Festival.
Yes.
That happens up in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. It's a half marathon, a 7-miler, and a full marathon.
Is that along the Lehigh Valley Trail?
It is. Yeah. The DNL
Yes.
trail right through Lehigh Gorge State Park.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. I've biked that, but never ran it.
Well,
but it's got me thinking now.
The coolest part about it is our participants, they take the train from Jim Thorpe all the way up to Whitehaven. It's the old-fashioned scenic.
When is that?
It's October. I think I looked. Isn't it October?
It's the last weekend in April.
Oh,
we missed it.
We missed it. Damn.
Well, the good thing is it happens every year.
That's true. That's true. Very true.
So it's the last weekend in April. Our participants take the train from Jim Thorpe up to Whitehaven, and then they run from Whitehaven down to Jim Thorpe, and it is slightly downhill just about the whole way.
Yes.
And so I believe we're the second fastest marathon, either in the Northeast or on the East Coast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some good accolades there.
The fastest is somewhere in the Berkshires where they just run straight downhill the whole time.
Right. So how many people do you typically have run that race, the marathon at least? I know that the other ones usually have a lot of numbers, but marathons can sometimes run smaller.
So the marathon has grown year after year. This past year, we had 750 who signed up for it. And I believe we had 690 who finished it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So what is your time cutoff? Before we got started today, we were talking about time cutoffs, and I was explaining to Michael that we are a little slower when we run our marathons.
Well, for that one, it's 6.5 hours.
Okay.
But it's 6.5 hours starting at 8 o'clock, and we open up the starting line at 7:15.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Right.
So, like, if you think you're going to be a little slower, you can start a little sooner?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really great way of doing it.
Yeah, we've had people who have emailed us, and that's the nice part about being a small race direction company.
Yeah.
We have people who email us who say, "I really want to do this. It's going to take me 8 hours. What can I do?" We've accommodated people who wanted to start as early as 6 o'clock in the morning at times. Yeah, and it's great to be able to respond to people like that.
It is. We always talk about how important, like, a race is, like, the back of the pack culture. Like, everybody makes it, the vast majority of people can make it to the end to experience all the good stuff that happens, the festivals at the end, the celebration. But there are so many people, I feel like, that are more back of the packers. And a race really shows its character with how they treat those people that are in the back of the pack, because they're working probably a little harder in some instances, sometimes not, but they're out there for so much longer than all the fasties.
Yeah. Fighting through an injury.
Yeah. Maggie ran Philly last year with an IT injury, so
yeah.
Well,
I was thinking when you're talking about how back-of-the-pack friendly your races are and the flexibility you get from people, I noticed with the BlobFest that you're hosting in a couple weeks that people could change day of, what length they wanted to go. Could they also register the day of?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we try to keep our races open for as long as possible. BlobFest, thankfully, knock on wood, is one of those races that does not sell out. Because we have such a large venue here in Phoenixville. And, you talk about that back-of-the-pack culture, and it's really funny that you bring that up. We had yesterday our local running club here. It's called the RUNegades.
Yes.
So the RUNegades Running Club hosted a Global Running Day celebration. And we had teams from all over come and run as many laps around the track as they possibly could up at the Phoenixville track.
Oh, wow.
And my team name was the RUNegades Mullet because we are the party in the back.
Yes.
So whenever I get together with the running group or my running friends, we joke that we're the party in the back. We're slow, but we have a whole lot of fun.
Yes.
And we just enjoy ourselves every step.
That is awesome. I think that's, well, obviously, I feel like that's the way it should be done. I mean, I applaud people who are pushing their physical prowess, because I know that there are people that work so hard to get PRs and to qualify for Boston. And it's a very big deal because it does take such sacrifice personally to train that hard for a race. So I'm not discounting that at all. However, I definitely like the party in the back.
There's a bit of a different vibe. You're on the course for a lot longer.
Yeah.
You when you get to the aid stations, you don't mind, stopping and saying hello to the volunteers, and you're not
thank
just
them profusely.
Exactly. You're not just grabbing that water and chugging it down and throwing your cup in the middle of the road somewhere. If you're in the back of the pack and you're throwing your cup in the middle of the trail, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. 100%, because we are very careful to make sure we put our garbage in the right spot.
It's true.
Especially from our mile 20 beverage. It has ended up in some interesting places, but it's always in a place that I know it'll be picked up and it'll be okay. Yeah. So when I first moved into the area, I actually kind of focused more on the Downingtown running scene, and I wish I had kind of looked more Phoenixville, because I'm directly between the two little small towns. Your RUNegades sounds really kind of cool. I was checking out your website. So how long has RUNegades been in existence, and what's your membership like?
So we started in 2018. It was really, I noticed I had just moved to Phoenixville. I noticed my neighbor would run by every once in a while, and I was a runner myself. And eventually, we both found ourselves outside at the same time.
Finally.
Exactly. And I said, hey, I noticed that you run. Could you recommend some running routes in the area? And she was just this fountain of information and told me all the places that I could run. So she and I started running together. And then a little while after that, we said, well, why don't we get some more people involved in this?
Yeah.
And we started running. I'll never forget it. The first quote-unquote group run we had as the RUNegades. It was raining. There were 3 of us that started under the Gay Street Bridge. And we had the best time, but it was the sad little pack of people. And eventually we decided, you know what, why don't we go over to Steel City, the coffee shop here in town? Why don't we start there, so that when we finish, we could all have a cup of coffee and chat about our runs. And then slowly but surely it just gained momentum, and more people joined. Now we have on our Facebook group, it's I think 4,600 members.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
That's phenomenal.
And we now have group runs on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. We have 2 on Fridays.
Yeah.
We have group runs in Phoenixville, in Pottstown, in Royersford. Our biggest one now is Tuesday nights at the Rec Room right here on Bridge Street in Phoenixville.
Yeah.
Last Tuesday was our largest ever. We had 55 runners for just a
Wow.
regular group run.
I was going to say, I walked my dog and I saw a lot of runners at the Rec Room and I didn't know what it was about. There's a lot of groups in Phoenixville as well, different running groups.
Right.
So I can't pinpoint which ones are which when I see groups of people out and about.
Well, and that's the great part. That's what I love about Phoenixville so much. There are different running groups. We're not in competition with each other. Everybody runs with all the different groups. I know the guys who run the Phoenixville Beer Runners. I know the people over at All Kinds of Fast. And we love the community and love growing the community.
Yeah.
And so we're always encouraging our runners to run with us, run with them, run on your own. Whenever you can get out there, just run.
Yeah, I was wondering because I tend to be like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday early morning person. And I did notice you had a Friday 6 a.m. run, but it made me wonder whether there were some like unofficial meetups on Monday and Wednesday as well, or whether it's just the Friday morning one.
So it's actually been really tricky to navigate the waters of having a running club, because every once in a while you'll have some bad actors come in. Either they'll be trying to sell something, or something just won't smell right. They want to know where you're running and when you're starting and when you're finishing, and so we do have an unofficial, official early morning group run.
I gotcha.
You have to go to it once.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed into it on the Facebook page, so we know exactly who you are. So
I think everybody in that group probably appreciates
It's a
that
screening
safeguard.
run.
Yeah, a screening run.
exactly.
That's
so
fair.
you can start on our Friday morning group run at Steel Cities at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
One of our fantastic renegades, Ryan Drummond, he's a running coach here in town. He leads that group run. He does a fantastic job, and everybody's always welcome.
That is fantastic.
As far as pacing goes, is it pretty spread out with the pacing of participants and just the general group runs?
So yes, and our group runs definitely vary. On Sundays, we have the widest pacing that you can find. We have people who, we call them the rabbits. They run really fast. They run really far. And then we have, the slower people, the mullet, the party in the back.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll even have people who walk or just walk on Sundays.
Okay.
And so, we pride ourselves on welcoming all paces and faces. And, when we first started the group, I had lived in a number of different towns, and I had tried to get into a number of different running clubs. And the thing that I noticed over and over again was just the sense that it felt a little bit cliquey.
Yeah, it can sometimes.
Right.
Very much so.
Whether, if you're not fast enough, or if you just don't know the right people.
Yeah.
And we really have striven to make the Renegades inclusive for everybody. So when you show up for the first time, there's someone who says, "Hey, you're new.
Yeah.
What are you all about? What do you want to do here? Do you want to walk? Do you want to run? Are you really fast? Do you want to go a long way? Do you just want to go maybe 2 or 3 miles?" And there's always someone who will join that person. And then afterwards, we make sure that everybody feels really welcome. At Steel City, we have an after run brunch. At the Rec Room, we have an after run drink.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure that everybody feels super welcome and wants to come back, because it's hard to get up that courage
It really
to come
is.
out and join a running group.
Yeah, especially not knowing what to expect when you get there, and you don't know whether you're going to be by yourself. You don't know the routes. It can be stressful. but for the most part, runners are very cool people.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, you do have a few, that have their own thing going on. But for the most part, our community is very non-judgmental and very opening and welcoming, which is the one thing that drew me to it immediately. And running in a group is so motivating. And they really become a tribe of your people.
The thing that I am most proud of when we talk about the RUNegades, there are so many people who have said, I didn't have my tribe. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I either just moved here, or I got divorced, or I was going through a breakup, or some crisis in my life, and I found the RUNegades and I feel like I found my people.
Yeah.
And that always makes, that's better to me than someone setting a PR.
Right. I agree with that too. So how is like the RUNegades, are they interwoven with the Pennsylvania Running Company at all? Or are they two separate entities? Like how is that navigated between the two groups?
So they are two separate entities, but the RUNegades, they come out and they volunteer a lot at the Pennsylvania Running Company races. The Pennsylvania Running Company runs events that are all in the area here.
Okay.
And so, really as part of that larger community, we tap into the local clubs and particularly the RUNegades to, have people come out and volunteer, have them run, just have them be a part of things. And that's another part of all of it. It's not just running and health and fitness physically. Yeah. It's also, there's a mental component, right? Like
absolutely.
When you're part of a group, when you're part of a unit that just, has a common goal, you feel better.
Yeah.
And that's what the RUNegades does.
I love that. Now, RUNegades is a 501c3, is that correct? Or am I getting that wrong and it's the Pennsylvania Running Company?
No.
I remember seeing that on one of the websites earlier today, but honestly, my brain's a little fuzzy right now, so I'm not sure if I remember which one.
So the RUNegades Running Club is currently a 501c3.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, we're focused on health and wellness and community engagement, and the event yesterday, the Global Running Day event, it was free for all of our participants, and that's what the RUNegades is all about.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So let's hear more about BlobFest and all the activities that are upcoming in that regard.
Well, can I just interject for just a moment? Because during my research today, I feel like everybody's heard of The Blob, right? The movie in the 1950s something.
I actually don't think so.
Really?
I think only people in Phoenixville and the surrounding area know what The
really?
Blob is.
I thought it was a classic horror movie from the 1950s.
Maybe it's just my age group, because I had a ton of friends come and visit, and I was like, oh, the Colonial Theater, that's where The Blob was filmed, and they were all like, what? What's that? And then, of course, we watched it and saw the film, and they're
but have people from your age group, do they know who Steve McQueen is? Is that a familiar name? Just a little bit?
No.
Not at all. Okay. Well, that's I was born in the 70s, so it's 20 years before me too. But anyway, long story short, I was doing research about The Blob just because I thought it was cool. There is actually a police report. It is based on a true story, sort of. Of course, it's been embellished for Hollywood. September 27th of 1950, there were two officers in Philadelphia that filed an official police report stating that they saw something fall from the sky, and they went to go investigate it. And it was a 6-foot in diameter mass of a purple blob gelatinous substance. They actually filed this in a report. And it seemed to be vibrating and moving a little bit on its own. So then the two cops or police officers called. I swear to God, I saw this online. I don't know.
It was an early ad for Jell-O.
Was it a TikTok?
It was not a TikTok. And then supposedly he called back up, and there was two other cops that came up, and they also saw it, but it completely evaporated in 30 minutes. But there was also supposedly then in the 1800s, late 1800s, there was a instance in New York that's been filed where they saw something drop from the sky. It was a gelatinous purple substance. And then
I believe in aliens.
And then again in Australia in 1969, and they were actually able to collect some of it and ran tests on it, and they found amino acids in it. Anyway, building block of life. I don't know what website I was looking at. I don't know if it's correct or not, but supposedly that's the story behind The Blob. In this area, it happened, and of course, the movie was made in 1958, and part of it was filmed in this area. So Why is that? Why? Like, what inspired you to decide that the Blob was going to be the theme?
So, obviously Phoenixville is our hometown.
Right.
And every year Phoenixville has had the BlobFest.
Yeah.
Which celebrates this movie.
Yes.
And when I first moved to Phoenixville, like Maggie, I had not heard about the Blob.
Never heard of the Blob before.
I maybe somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I had remembered that there was a sci-fi movie called The Blob, but I didn't know that it was quite such a big deal. And I'm not sure it is such a big deal, but
it's a big deal
it's a big deal to us.
Yes.
Right? So I moved to Phoenixville and I went to the first. I didn't go to the first BlobFest, but it was the first BlobFest for me.
Right.
And it was just every year it became this just fantastic local tradition.
Yeah.
And after we had started the running club and decided that we wanted to get into directing races, we thought, well, why not?
Yeah.
Direct a race in conjunction with BlobFest. There's so much fun stuff that we could do with that.
There really is. So anybody who's not familiar with with the Blob or the iconic scenes from the Blob, probably the most iconic scene, I think, from the movie is that the Blob takes over this movie theater and everybody runs out of the movie theater screaming. And the outside shot of that part of the movie is the Colonial Theater here in Phoenixville. So they re-show the Blob multiple times over the BlobFest weekend and also reenact the run out of the theater, which I've not seen, I have not participated in, but it sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, we got the running going.
Yes, it is a fantastic time. The street is packed with people, and everybody dresses up like it's the 1950s, and and they go into the theater to watch the movie, and when that scene happens is when everybody starts running out of the theater. So everyone outside is waiting with bated breath for it to occur.
Oh, really?
Yep, and then it happens and everyone goes crazy, and it's
How far into the movie is it? I don't even know, because I actually have never seen the Blob myself. I just know of it.
It's pretty far
Is
in
it
there
deep?
Because the Blob has to get big enough to swallow a movie theater.
That's true.
Right? It starts as a tiny little egg that latches onto some guy's arm, and after a while it just becomes big enough to swallow the theater. So it's I would say 2/3 in, maybe the beginning of Act 3.
Gotcha.
If you're
That's fair.
if you're into stage jargon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the race itself, what inspired you besides just starting your running company to do specifically the BlobFest? There's a half marathon, 10K, 8K, 5K kids run?
Well,
or no 8K?
No 8K.
Yeah, this year it's a 5K, 10K, half marathon, and kids run. And the kids run has always been there. The first year we did it, it was a 5K.
Okay.
And, really we just thought we want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool local holiday. And, as a race director, you're always looking for something that's going to make the race stand out, right?
Yeah.
Something that's going to want people to say, I want to do that race.
Yes.
It's different.
Yeah.
And, I have a theater background. I am a playwright. I have
that's cool.
I love theater. I have always enjoyed creating. My mom was a children's book author. And so, when I race direct, I kind of see myself as a theater director.
Yeah, that's fair. I get the correlation there.
Yeah, I'm putting on this huge play, and all of the actors are the runners, and I'm putting an obstacle in their way. I'm giving them their conflict, and they are going to have their own journey overcoming it, and hopefully progressing through it and then finishing triumphantly.
Yes.
Right?
They might be in costume as well.
Yes, especially for the BlobFest, they are often in costume. And
Oh wait, do we have to dress up for the half?
you don't have to dress up for anything,
But it's strongly encouraged.
it
Yeah, but-
is strongly
There's a
encouraged.
costume competition element.
With the run? I know.
Yes.
Oh. How do you do that in the heat of July, though?
You would be amazed.
You have to be
Really?
We have had people who have run in full blob costumes. We have had women
Wow.
who have run in 1950s dresses. We had one guy dressed up as a firefighter because of the end. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
The firefighters saved the day at the end of the movie with their magical fire extinguishers that kill the blob. So we had someone who dressed up as in full firefighter gear and ran with a fire extinguisher.
In July.
Oh, yes.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a commitment.
Well, and it's interesting. That's one of the largest challenges to this race is that it happens in July.
I bet.
So, you don't know what you're going to get, but you're pretty sure you're going to get some heat.
Oh, it's going to be hot. Yeah.
Right. So we actually have, last year we had people come out and set up a mister on the course.
Ooh, nice.
Which was great. We 2 years ago, we had one of our volunteers decided to make BlobFest Jello shots made with Gatorade.
Oh, I was getting excited
I
there,
know.
Michael. Come on.
I know it's a family event.
I support that.
So we had BlobFest Jello shots made with Gatorade at the top of Crombie Hill.
Oh, nice.
And we always have a group of kids after the kids run. Every year I buy a ton of water guns, and we all go out and we stand by the trestle bridge across from the foundry, and when the runners come back, all the kids go nuts spraying the runners with water.
That does sound like fun. I'm getting excited for this.
I'm really excited.
I'm glad you pushed this. I am. I don't think I would have even known about it because I think we usually just slog our 12 miles, down the Chester Valley Trail or just around Chester Springs, which is hell on earth if you've ever ran through Chester Springs. It's like literally, it's like 1,500 feet in elevation over 12 miles. It's not fun.
Well, I will say that the BlobFest has gotten a reputation for being
is it hilly?
a little bit hilly.
Schuylkill River Trail.
Yes.
That's what's run on the whole time, or
It is well for most of the time, but it is the Schuylkill River Trail that is hilly.
Yeah.
In Phoenixville here we have Crombie Hill, and this year we have changed the routes of every race, the 5K, 10K, and half, so that we can start and finish in front of the Colonial Theater.
Oh, wow.
Which is incredible. The Colonial has just been such a fantastic partner.
I can only imagine.
We're going to, hopefully, knock on wood, we're going to have movie popcorn afterward for everyone.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Right. And just incorporating the facade of the Colonial into everything, I think is going to be fantastic. The 5K and 10K are going to be relatively flat this year. In the past, they have been hilly. But the half marathon, there's no way to avoid it. We've got to get on the Schuylkill River Trail and get up and over Crombie Hill.
Okay,
That's
so
okay.
where is Crombie Hill, and how much do I need to be worried about this?
Well,
At what point in the race is
local
this?
runners who are listening are chuckling right now.
I know. I haven't ran through Phoenixville before. I mean, I do cycle on the Schuylkill River Trail, but I'm on a bike.
Right.
And I don't do. Well, usually we start at Port Providence, if I'm going to be real. So I haven't really been on the western side of it, I guess.
If you go the other way,
Yeah.
pretty quickly you run into Crombie Hill.
Okay.
And it is a challenge.
Okay.
And one that BlobFest runners have embraced year after year and
Nice.
continue to come back to run and love?
Okay.
Question mark?
let's get it.
Of course. I'm ready.
Let's tackle it.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. So are there any other really cool races that you guys put on?
We do. We put on the Bethlehem Running Festival. With Jim Thorpe is in April and
Yeah.
Bethlehem is in October.
Okay.
So it's usually the third weekend in October. We partner
Okay.
with the American Cancer Society for that one.
Oh, fabulous.
It is such a blast. It used to be the old Runner's World Festival.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
And
Yes.
that went defunct in, I believe it was 2019.
Okay.
And, with the Renegades, the group, we would run with everyone, and we would often go up to the Lehigh Valley to run. And a number of people would always say, when is the Runner's World Festival coming back?
Yeah.
And after hearing that time and time again, we decided to look into it. So I found out who the race director was, a guy by the name, you may have heard of him, Bart Yasso.
Just a little bit, yes.
He
loves to torture runners everywhere, I do believe, with his training ideals, right?
He certainly does, and Bethlehem is no different.
Yeah.
He actually lives up in Bethlehem. He was the chief running officer at Runner's World for quite a while.
Yeah.
And that was based in Bethlehem, and that's why the Runner's World Festival was there.
Okay.
And I reached out to him. I at the time did not know who he was.
Yeah.
And we had a fantastic conversation, and at the end of it, he said, a number of groups have come to try to put this on, and I haven't really loved any of them. You guys sound like you're it.
Yeah.
So let's get together further and explore it.
Well, that'll make you feel good to
Oh,
hear
God.
that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And we really pride ourselves on putting on solid events, putting the runners first.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because, I have run so many events.
Yeah.
And I got into all of this because I had run so many events.
So how did you get into running to begin with? Like, have you run since high school? Were you a high school runner, or was it later in life thing?
So when I was young, my dad, he ran 5 miles a day religiously.
Wow, really?
He was a streaker.
He was a streaker. And when he didn't run, you could always tell the days that Dad didn't run because he was grumpy. Yes, of course. But if you ever had to ask Dad something, wait until he finished, as he was coming in from his run.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you would say, "Hey, Dad, can we get fast
dopamine
food tonight?"
super high, the mood's elevated. Totally get that.
Hey, Dad, I accidentally spilled paint on the living room floor.
It's okay.
Yeah, that was the time to tell him.
Yeah.
But he ran 5 miles a day, and I never quite got it. I always tried to join him. I always ran too fast when I was a kid. And,
Yeah. Well, I think like pacing yourself is something that it takes a bit to teach kids when they're running, because they think they're running, they got to go all out. Like my youngest daughter, she started running. I'm sorry to interject. This is the ADHD that kicks in. And like she would think she'd have to run. And I'm like, just slow down.
I also think kids
and
are
take a
so
deep breath.
competitive. Like
They are too.
everything's a competition when you're a kid.
Sorry.
So you gotta run faster than the person before you.
But I get that, like how it's hard as a kid to learn to pace yourself.
You're running as a kid, and if you're running at the pace my dad was running, and you're doing as many laps around the track as he was doing, that boredom would set in. And,
yeah.
I never quite understood why he would do this every day until I got older.
Yeah.
And I would say around 30, 31, this is when I was living in North Carolina, the Davidson College cross-country team had just an amazing cross-country course.
Really?
And one day I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and walk it. And I walked it, and then I thought, I wonder if I could run it. And I would start to run, and I'd get half a mile in, and then I'd have to walk. And after a while, suddenly I was running 3 miles.
Yeah.
And then I would say, well, let me take the turn this time and see if I could do all 5 miles. And suddenly I became a runner. And this was after my dad passed when I was 26.
Okay.
And there was a moment, the second or third time that I ran 5 miles. I got to about the 4th mile, and I suddenly felt like I was running with my dad.
Oh, I love that so much.
It was just, and it still happens when I get to about that 4 or 5 mile mark.
Yeah.
It's just like all of the noise in my head has kind of died away, and it's just me and the sound of my feet, particularly when I'm running alone.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, oh, hey, Dad, there you are.
Yeah.
Even now I can tap into that. And so for me, that's what really motivated me to become a longer distance runner.
Yeah.
And in 2017, I ran a half marathon every month.
What?
Yep.
That's crazy.
On
And
your own or a race?
A race,
Wow.
a half marathon every month, and it was
That's even
hard.
more impressive.
That's very impressive.
It was hard to find
Wait,
half marathons.
are you a
in,
half
like,
fanatic?
August. Well, I was.
You were. Okay.
And then the problem is, once you start a running company, you actually
It's
start
addictive.
running a lot
Yeah.
less.
oh, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, because it's sudden. There's something about it where you're constantly doing it, but you're constantly directing it
Yeah.
and organizing it rather than just
Has it
participating in it.
killed any of your love of running? Is a good question, because I always get afraid that if I made something I really loved my career, that I would lose a little bit of its luster because it becomes a job.
It hasn't killed my love of running.
Okay.
It has shifted my love of running.
Okay.
So, we were just talking about how much I used to enjoy running on my own.
Yes.
I don't get a chance to do that as much as I used to.
Okay.
But now I get to focus on what it means for the community.
Right.
Yesterday I told you we had the Global Running Day. Team was called the Running Mullet.
Yeah.
I ordered a costume. It had a mullet component to it. And we all decided to dress up in 80s garb. So I had an MTV tank top and
Heck
really
yeah.
short golden shorts. And,
I love that.
it's that.
Yeah.
It really, my love of running has transformed from a love of an individual or solo effort
Yeah.
to, wow, what this does for the community and how it can really inspire people to come together and be a part of something that, I think nowadays we're lacking
Yeah.
in our society.
Yeah. Yeah, I always find the running space is kind of a sacred space. And it was interesting because when we interviewed Edith Zushman, because that's like their thing is bringing women empowerment, empowering women through running. So it's really cool just to it's across the board in the running community. It's empowering. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're somewhere in between, doesn't matter. It's just about running, getting out there, and the power that you feel by doing something good for yourself or
Yeah.
for others. Just like when you're running in a group and somebody's having a bad day, believe it or not, when you're running, that's your time. They can talk to you and you become their sounding board. And that does so much good. It's just good vibes in the world.
So many of our, I would say, core runners in our local running group here,
Yeah.
they joined because of divorce or sickness
Yeah.
or loss in some way, and it really does transform people's lives.
Yeah.
Not just the running aspect, but the whole community aspect of it. And
Yeah.
that's what it gets me up every day, and that's just what I love about my job.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. One last question.
Okay.
Favorite race that you've ever ran?
Oh.
Not directed.
Or a top 3. We won't put you on the spot.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
you
That's
can-
fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Totally
Unless
fine.
you have one.
You can put me on the spot. I do have one. It was by far the Baltimore Running Festival.
Okay.
Okay.
Which distance?
It was the half marathon.
Okay.
And
Yes.
it was actually the second time I ran it.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I ran it, I don't know if you've ever run.
I haven't run the half. I've ran the full there twice.
So you come around the man-made lake
Yes.
at
Yep.
mile 6 or so.
Yeah.
And the first time I came around that lake, I looked and I saw just a sea of people going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's this enormous and long and grueling hill.
Yes.
Relentless. And I said to myself that first time, I'm going to make it up to the top of this hill. I did not make it up to the top of that hill. I made
Well.
it maybe a third of the way up.
Baltimore's tough.
It's really
It is
tough.
very tough.
That
That's a
was
tough
my
course.
first half marathon ever, and my friend at the starting line who had convinced me to sign up said, "Oh, by the way, this is one of the hillier half marathons in the country."
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, buddy.
So
Well, we're here now.
exactly. So I came back from that first half marathon attempt, and I finished the half marathon. But my goal had been to run the whole thing, right? And I did not do that. And I came back from that, and I went over to Valley Forge here,
Yeah.
locally, And they have this 5-mile loop.
And that is not flat.
It is not flat.
It is not flat at all.
There is at least one hill where I would look at that hill every time and I would say to myself, that's Baltimore.
Okay, which one is it? Is it the one coming up back to the visitor center? Were you starting at the visitor center?
I was starting at the Van Steuben statue.
Okay, yeah.
Which is about a mile from the visitor center. And I would run downhill to the visitor center.
Okay.
And then you would run to the other side of the park, and it's that other one on the other side of the park that runs up toward, I believe is it Mount Joy or Mount Misery?
One of them. Yeah, I know which one you're
talking
about.
They're both Misery to me.
Yes, they are. They are. It's Mount Misery and Mount Misery. Yeah.
Mount More Misery. So it was that side, and every time I would look at it, because you could see that one from across the field. Like, it's coming.
Yes, you do.
And I would just get in my head and I would say, all right, this is Baltimore. And so every time I would train for that at least 3 times a week, I would run that hill.
Wow.
And the second time when I got back to Baltimore, I ran around that man-made lake. I started running up that hill and I just kept saying, this is it. This is Valley Forge. You know, I can do it. I've done this all year. And I kept thinking, all right, the hard part's coming. The hard part's coming.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I had gotten to the top. And this hill that I had built up in my head as Mount Everest
well, sometimes it feels like that.
Was no longer Mount Everest. It was behind me. And then from that point in that marathon, or half marathon, it's a bit of a flat section and then a nice downhill through Camden Yards to the finish line. And that by far was my favorite half marathon.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. Well, we would love to thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure to meet you and to chat with you today.
It has been a pleasure meeting you guys, and I'm sure you guys live close. So and hopefully we'll see you at the BlobFest.
Well, we're already signed up.
Yeah, we're signed up for the BlobFest.
We will be there.
We're coming, come hell or high water. We'll be at the BlobFest.
But no high water. Phoenixville and high water do not mix.
That's true. I'm sorry. I should not have said that. That's bad.
Well, thank you, Michael, for coming, and everyone, thanks for listening today. Now go make mile 20 your bitch.
Peace out.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.